Episode 6, Harry and Meghan. The most upsetting things for me, the key highlights. They're good and bad. One thing that was positive in this episode was to see that Tyler Perry did reach out and that visibility for Harry and Meghan had some good results in that people were reaching out and trying to help. So the fact that they were staying in Tyler Perry's house and there was no ulterior motive, that was good to hear. It was good to hear that a human being had some empathy and in relating to Meghan's situation reached out to her and her husband, and there was no ulterior motive and he just wanted to help out. That was great. But the most upsetting thing to hear is that, up front, the media genuinely do think that once you're in the public eye, you give up all of your rights to privacy. Who makes this rule? Because the media doesn't create the law. So how is it that they're somehow outlawed from people being arrested for invading other people's privacy? How is it that the media is outlawed from defamation, destroying people's reputations, celebrities or other public figures? And it's like this unwritten but not so unwritten, because they literally stated it that Meghan sacrificed her rights to privacy when she joined the royal family. How and why is that a thing? I've always been upset by the fact that celebrities are abused, because I think that people don't have empathy for them because they believe that these people put themselves in that situation, and that's not always the case. There's a lot of people that get into show business from a young age without realizing the consequences, and there's a lot of people that get into show business because they just simply want to do what they're passionate about and don't really realize how cruel human beings can be, how cruel the public can be, and they're thrown to these dogs without a full awareness of the consequences. And there's this assumption that because they want to be in the public eye, or they want to be famous, they want to be known, which is really something that we all want, is visibility, acknowledgement, to be loved. And if somebody genuinely has this narcissistic desire, or this vanity or this need to be seen, then it's something that is obviously suffering within them, that they don't feel loved by the community or the family that they have. But there's this assumption by some people that these people are narcissists and that's why they choose to be in the public eye, and that's not true. There's a lot of, they're human beings just like the rest of us, and some of them might be narcissists, but there's narcissists running around every day around us. And to say that they deserve what they go through, which is what we put them through as a public, is just as narcissistic, if not worse, because a lot of those people are very nice people, very kind people who are loving to their children, to their families, and they go through all this stuff with the public being apathetic about it and justifying it by saying, well, they chose to be in that position. But you know what? These are people who entertain us. These are people who we love to, who inspire us. And everybody has some artist, some musician, some actor that has kind of made their day or made their life with the music that they relate to and makes them cry, makes them laugh. We all dance around to these people's music, and yet people stalk them and abuse them and drive them insane, and nobody really has any compassion or empathy for that. People who buy and read tabloids, people who buy and read celebrity magazines that are just designed to literally poke fun at these people, ridicule them, and use them like clowns in a circus, which is not what it was intended for. That's not what they get paid for. You pay for a concert ticket, they go and perform, they put on a show for you, you enjoy it, you love it, and that's what you've paid for. They make music, you buy the album, or you pay to stream it, and you watch films, you do whatever. But when it comes to somebody that is not paid to put on a show, or somebody that is paid to put on a show outside of that time when they're doing the interview or they're putting on a show, and it's in their private lives that we are poking, and somehow paparazzi have this pass to get stupid pictures of them because somehow it sells for so much money. It says a lot about us as a society and how much we pay to these magazines, these tabloids, these media establishments, that they have that much money to pay for a stupid photo of somebody that was taken through a window of them in their living room, and that photo can sell for 10 grand, a million, or whatever. That people are willing to betray their family because they feel like, well, I'm going to be made for life if I sell one photo or if I sell one story, and like they take advantage of people that they know who've become famous. And there's so much to consider, you know. I feel a lot of empathy and a lot of compassion for it, because I feel like when I was a kid, I really wanted to get into show business. I wanted to be a singer, an actress. You know, I was one of these people that had all this stuff as a passion, like singing, dancing, acting, the whole round circle thing that goes together. And if it wasn't for certain things that happened in my life, I was well on my way to succeeding in that. And I've had opportunities that I've either sabotaged or turned down and or failed. And I feel like in that perspective, it could have been me in any one of those situations. I could have been somebody that in some other reality succeeded, and then not really have known what I would have gone through. And as somebody who struggles with social anxiety and mental health issues such as chronic depression and difficulty managing my emotions, and gets overwhelmed very easily in everyday life. I just can't fathom what I would have gone through. I don't think I would have made it at all. I think I would have very quickly become a train wreck, and I think there's a reason that like the universe steered me off of that course, because fame um, at any level would not have been good for me. I love my privacy, and that's something I would have realized at a young age, because the world sensationalizes um, like fame, obviously. And even though we see these people being taunted, I don't think any of us knew before there was so much social media. We didn't really know what fame was and how dark it could get. We didn't see all this video footage of like paparazzi, um, and what they do, how bad they can truly get. We didn't have these documentaries that could go up on Netflix, you know, like this one that we're seeing behind the scenes, how much was going on, how much was being twisted, and truly like who the real narcissists are. And the real narcissists are the members of the public, members of the media, you know, who support this industry of just total BS that makes so much money based on just making up lies, twisting stories, and ruining people's lives simply because they're in the public eye. And we then are what, like jealous of them or something? At the same time, we destroy them. Like, it's like we're jealous of them getting the admiration that they get and getting the positive reaction and the respect and the love that they get, and therefore, or like the praise, and therefore we decide that we have to create like this shadow side, this dark side, and just do our best to like add negativity into the pool of what fame is. It's just so disturbing to see. Even when we know stuff happens, it's always like shocking to hear individual stories, and like these scenes where Meghan was saying, you know, William's your brother, and I don't want to say anything about your brother, but obviously like this guy who works for William has leaked this information, and he wouldn't have done that without William telling him to do so. So obviously it was really William that has set this stuff up. And to see that like the royal family, you know, has so intentionally sabotaged Meghan, and for it to be anything other than racism, I mean, what were they really trying to do? Were they just being revengeful? Were they just being immature? Because there was a clip of like William being asked, you know, if there's racism in the royal family, and saying we're definitely not a racist family. But to be honest, it's quite obvious that they are. There's no evidence to the contrary. You know, we've had the mention of not ancient, like symbols of like slavery still in the royal palace or castle or wherever it is that they live, that people have seen, you know, wearing symbols of slavery without really recognizing, you know, without really like having the progressive thinking to recognize that this is like outdated now. Things that they haven't changed, which they would if they were worried at all about their public image, really. If they were worried at all about being progressive people. I mean, they're conservatives, obviously, but you know, to what extent are they trying to hold on to the way that things were and their traditions and their ways of looking at things? In some ways, I think they probably consider those kind of like statues or whatever, those art pieces that are like reflecting times when they were, you know, using people as servants, in this sort of disrespectful culture, they probably see it as a symbol of their like foundation, how they became empowered, like as an empire. But who's to say? We can only really go off what we're seeing now with the way that they've treated Meghan. And I love how there was a guy that said, you know, there's probably so much more that Meghan could say, but because she's such a classy woman, she won't. And I remember saying to my partner, like, I am not that classy at all. I would have exposed every last one of them in detail. And that's why I wouldn't really make it in a situation like that, because I do not have the class or the tact to tolerate shit like that and not think that it should be exposed. And I would just make a much bigger mess for myself than I was already in. And not to mention that she's such a strong woman, because I wouldn't be able to take everything that she's taken with like such a level head. Although, come to think of it, up until that point in her life, you know, it seemed that she was generally a very happy, mentally stable person. You know, she had a great relationship with her mother, and she had a good relationship with her father. She never said that she had any issues with her father. Other than the fact that her parents were separated, she never said that she had any issues with her relationship with her father. So that's one thing that is very surprising, that he just turned on her like that. But you know, from all the clips that I've seen, I've mentioned in previous reaction videos or my reviews of these episodes of this documentary, I've said that, you know, one of the things that I was really using as a source of kind of entertainment but also information was this channel. There's this like Spanish guy, and I can't remember his name, but he's supposed to be on YouTube. He's like a body language specialist, is what he presents himself as, and he's very entertaining to watch. I say he's Spanish, but he could be any type of Latino, and I don't know which type, but he has a Spanish accent. Hispanic of some kind, not like from Spain, and he's very popular and he's very entertaining to watch. But all of his videos were using these clips and giving these deep insights on why Meghan is narcissistic, or showing like symptoms of narcissistic personality disorder, and Harry's behavior to her, that towards her, that sort of like body language and stuff that validates that. But from what I've seen in a previous interview early on in their relationship, and what I've seen of this documentary, I don't see any of that with my own eyes, and I have a pretty good sense for these things. But I mean, it's very evident that she's not narcissistic, just simply based on Harry's behavior towards her and the things that he says out of his own mouth, which are kind of like undeniable. That he's confident in the relationship, he feels like he has his own power in the relationship, he's not being manipulated, used, or anything like that. He's making his own decisions. It was his decision to leave the royal family and distance themselves. You know, he definitely doesn't come across as a yes man who's being manipulated by this woman. He seems like he knows what he's doing, and he is making leading decisions in that relationship, as much as she's kind of making, you know, decisions as an equal partner. But and sometimes he's leading it, such as making this decision to leave the family. So I'm very surprised that people are able to twist so many things, and I'm very disappointed in society online that I like to trust that the general population sometimes gets it right based on their own reading between the lines, but it just seems like really we're so naive, and sometimes, and we can be so convincing even towards each other as viewers. You know, it's not just the people that have been planted by the media to, you know, who've been paid to try to dig up dirt and make big phony stories out of tiny you know, particles of a reality. You know, like some of those people, that those bored housewives that, so to speak, were paid by media establishments to create like awful content and try to make Meghan look bad, and they were recruited for this purpose. It's just not just them, it's like us not being able to read in between the lines, or us creating, like, forming opinions based on this crap that we don't really investigate ourselves, but we continue to perpetuate and talk about. that's why I never really followed the story, because I know that whenever there's a lot of gossip about something, it's most likely not anything worth paying attention to, and it's just drama. And now that I'm seeing the real story, like, I was really keen to see that they created their own documentary so I can see the real story and hear what is going on. And even if any of those claims were true, at least I would kind of have a sense of it based on what I'm seeing on camera for myself, what I'm analyzing for myself. It's really disturbing that, you know, people can break into their house, break the locks on Tyler Perry's fence that they've built, and try to get on the property, and that this is like breaking and entering, but that these people aren't arrested, or like don't care about the risk of being arrested to the point that they don't even bother, because there's so many of them. They're so willing to, like, you know, face the consequences for a picture that could give them some amount of money. You know, these people are so immoral, so psychotic. Not psychotic, but psychopathic for sure. You know, trying to like squeeze into the elevator next to you, like, such pests, like complete parasites. Like, how could you be so annoying as a person? Like, do you have any kind of life, any relationships in your life, you know, anything that holds you accountable to being any kind of decent person? If that's how you behave, like, worse than an animal, far worse than any animal, you know, with like zero humanity in your system. You know, when I watched these guys in the scene, they were being like pushed out of the elevator. They were trying to, like, with Diana, and they were trying to push themselves into the elevator. It was like unbelievable how disgusting they are as, like, these non-human beings. It's just like, I don't even know how to process it, but I know that I definitely couldn't handle it. Like, I can't see these people as human beings. They have no shred of dignity, like, no shreds of dignity at all. Oh, my front door is knocking. Let me just pause this video. That was Amazon. So, so I lost track of what I was saying. Essentially, that the royal family are so manipulative. The media is somehow seems to be outlawed, is a very disturbing thing, from like any kind of boundary, respecting people's privacy, like why they're not held accountable. Like, I have always wondered, how can they print so many lies about people and not get shut down? You know, and Harry really said it at the end when he said that if we don't have the resources to fight these people, then nobody does, because they've got all the money in the world. I mean, they don't actually have that much money, to be honest. The royal family don't actually have as much money as some other people in the world as you'd expect. Like, when you think of a monarchy or a king, queen, you know, you expect them to be on top financially, and also in terms of status, but they actually don't actually have that much money, especially as individuals. And Harry, having left, the royal family has a lot, like, less resources, like, once he distanced himself. But nonetheless, he had, you know, money. But these establishments, these media establishments that we fund, because people actually buy them and read them, they have more money. They're willing to spend more, because the odd thing about it is that they earn money through the drama of the court case. So even if you drag them to court, they continue to slam you in their outlets and earn more money based on the action and the drama that you're engaging in. So you're still feeding them. Like, I just feel like we need to have a way to stop them. And the only thing I can think of is that people should just boycott stupid magazines and tabloids, where we know that there's no real truth in any of these stories, and that they don't really feed our lives in any kind of positive, nourishing way. So, like, we should just stick to independent news, like more upcoming news channels and stations online. We have social media, and we have platforms like YouTube, where independent journalists, you know, that we can trust, that are not just making up bullshit stories. can represent real news and positive news, not just negative news, and not just like made up numbers and made up statistics and all kinds of lies and fabricated stuff that we all know we can't trust when it comes to mainstream news. And also like news that is relevant. So if we stop buying celebrity magazines where we don't really need to see pictures of people through their windows, like we don't really need to know what they're doing in their private lives. We enjoy their concerts, their shows, we watch their interviews that they choose to give, and anything outside of that that is not solicited just makes us a bunch of creep bags. Why would people want to creep in on people's lives that they've been stalked to get that content? Like they don't want you to know. It just makes society like a whole bunch of creepbags that we support this. I say we because I don't want to make myself feel like I'm above it. I mean, when I was a kid, I would buy those celebrity magazines, and I really wanted to know all this. But of course, I was a kid, so all this stuff I didn't know was lies, and that's probably a lot of the population are kids, or just but ignorant people, because they're not all kids, and it's also parents that would be buying this for their kids, I guess, unless they're saving pocket money to buy a celebrity magazine, and I'm also sure that there's a lot of adults engaging in still reading tabloids. I mean, no intelligent person reads tabloids, but a lot of people are not intelligent. I don't want to say the majority of the population, but a lot of people who read tabloids knowing that they're full of nonsense, what they're supporting, it's just how relevant is it to your life, really? But the more we know about stuff like this, I guess the more people will be awakened, and will realize that they shouldn't be reading tabloids, they shouldn't be reading celebrity magazines, because they don't contribute any positivity to our lives, and other people are suffering in order for that stuff to be published, and it's not even true. And it's such a distraction from your real life or any sort of productivity or anything that you could be contributing to the world, to just spy in on the lives of celebrities and public figures, which doesn't tell you anything about the real work that they do in the world. And yeah, it's just creepy. It's just like spying into people's private lives, where there's nothing special even going on. Like, Meghan has a baby who's being woken up by helicopters circling her house, or like Tyler Perry's house, because they want what? They're just like a simple family playing in their front yard with their toddler, doing simple things. Why do we need pictures of this? Why do we need helicopters circling? This is such a waste of resources, such a waste of time. Who wants to look at these pictures, really, of them playing in their front yard? And like, to make it more exciting, they then make up just nonsense stories, and people read that because they find it entertaining, or for whatever reason they actually believe it. But yeah, this is the most disturbing thing about, I think, episode 6, like them breaking into Tyler Perry's house, breaking locks on the fence, the fact that they had to build this fence, the fact that helicopters were like circling the house, and people were trying to break in, you know, and also the fact that, like, really, like, without saying too much, they keep painting this picture that members of the royal family intentionally are setting them up and trying to use them to feed stuff to the tabloids to take the attention off themselves. That's like extremely dark. The fact that they're family members, I'm also surprised that Harry didn't expect this kind of stuff, knowing that it happened. Like, up until that point, he had what seemed like a good relationship with members of his family, but that they also turned against him after Meghan. And to see that none of it was Meghan's fault, but yet all of it was blamed on Meghan. I think that's all I have to say about this episode. And I don't know if there's more episodes, but if there are, yeah, I look forward to seeing what's going to happen. See you in the next one.